When I was growing up as a kid, people asked me, what do you want to do when you grew up? I was like, either a stuntman or make video games.
Did you make video games about stuntmen? That would be the middle ground there.
I did not actually, no, I've not done that.
Didn't have a follow-up for that one. I asked it and I was like, there's literally no follow-up
where are you going
with that. I wasn't going anywhere with that. Hey and welcome to Gaming Talk with Antstream. Today I have with me guest Quang from Asobi.tech, who is a game developer who develops for the Game Boy. Hey, how are you doing today?
Hey there, thanks for having me.
So I would like to quiz you a little bit on how you got into game development, because I know you started quite young.
Yes, started with the ZX Spectrum. Obviously, what originally is just to play games, but luckily it came with BASIC, and that really piqued my interest, and I feverishly just got into learning BASIC and getting books from the library, magazines and things like that. Typing
in all the codes in the magazines.
Yeah. Starting off, having no idea what they do, just typing them in blindly and hoping something came out at the end, but really enjoying it. And between me and my brother, we take turns of reading out the code while the other one typed it in, and that was a great way to bond with my brother and pass the time.
I think it was something that was really good with those original home computers, is that you could just type something in, literally, something basic in, to intentionally make a pun there, and you could make a pixel move on the screen by your own power. And I think that really inspired a lot of people to see that you could actually make your own games and have control of that magic. Yeah, definitely. The 8-bit computers in the UK really were the start of the gaming industry in the UK. All the greats out there started with the 8-bit computers. Yeah, I think the accessibility as well of being able to just pick up a magazine and go onto that computer, which you probably had because you were supposed to either be doing your homework on it or one of your parents was using it for work or something, and make a game from nothing, is something that's, we still have some really nice systems now. We have all the game making softwares, RPG Maker and things now, but I still think there's something very magic about literally making a pixel move from here to here, and it being the most exciting thing you've ever seen. How did it feel the first time you compiled something and it actually didn't error? It's
great. There's a great sense of accomplishment when being able to type something in and make something happen, and that I made this. It's very cool.
That's my pixel. It's going towards this pixel. I don't know why, but it's doing it at this speed.
Very much so. I think one of the first things was actually making a circle go from one side to the other side, and then bounce back the other way. And then I had made it grow as it went across and then shrink as it came back. And that was, again, the sense of accomplishment just doing that. Yeah, and I think even with just those basic graphics, it just felt like you suddenly had taken over the world. My brain goes to war games and things like that, where those computers were all powerful and you felt like you could probably send something to the moon, but actually you were just moving pixels across the screen. Nevertheless, it was a lot of good fun. And cassette tapes and things, they have there's something very visceral about putting a tape in with some code you have written, or in my case, totally not copied off a different tape on a dual tape player, and seeing that work. Yeah, being able to then save your listing onto a tape and then take it to your friend's house, load it up and go, look, I made this. That's very cool.
I made this, yes. So you were basically destined, I think, at this point to end up becoming a games programmer.
Definitely. That was when I was growing up as a kid, people asked me, what do you want to do when you grew up? When you grow up, I was like, either a stuntman or make video games.
A stuntman or make video games.
Yeah.
Did you make video games about stuntmen? That would be the middle ground there.
I did not actually, no, I've not done that.
I didn't have a follow-up for that one. I asked it and I was like, there's literally no follow-up.
Where are you going with that?
I wasn't going anywhere with that. I just thought it would be an interesting, maybe that should be the next game.
Maybe.
There's an idea for free, a video about a stunt game, but it has to be 8-bit.
The stuntman game on PlayStation is okay, not great, but it's okay.
Well, you can improve on it by making it 8-bit. That's the first improvement you can make to it.
Sure, I'll look into that. I'll do
You'll
that.
look into that one.
I'll look into that. Thanks.
You heard it here first. So, just looking at me all unimpressed now. I'm not going to set you a challenge every single interview.
Yeah.
Except I have every single one so far, but that is not indicative of a pattern. It just looks very much like a pattern.
Okay. I believe you.
That's good. Good. Excellent. So you were destined to become a games programmer by this point. It has basically took over a lot of your childhood playing games and looking into them. What was the first full game that you created?
That's really hard to say. When you say full game, so the full game, so a full game is a game that has a beginning, a middle, and end. You can play it from the beginning, you can die, you can start, restart, and you have a purpose. So I would say the first full game I actually made was a representation of those old LCD racing games. We had 3 lanes, and the traffic came towards you, and you dodged in between that. So I made a version of that for the Spectrum. That's the first
really
thing
cool.
I made.
Yeah, that's good. It has a beginning, a middle, and the bit where I crash is called the end.
Yeah, exactly that.
That's how that works. That's a complete narrative. I like it. So you did actually go on to become a professional game developer after school as well? I
did. So from ZX Spectrum, went on to the TristaBytes, and then got a PC and started learning C. And with that, I learnt code for the Game Boy. They released a Game Boy development kit into the freeware atmosphere. That's not words. Let's try again. So I went from the ZX Spectrum to the TristaBytes then to the PC and learnt C. And around that same time, there was something called the GBDK which came out, which is the Game Boy development kit, which let you make Game Boy games in C. I picked that up, and so I started making Game Boy games, which was great fun. I put those online, someone saw them, and lo and behold, they offered me a job.
That's like the dream, isn't it? That is the childhood dream. You make your game, you put it out into the world, and a company comes knocking on your door.
Yeah, that was it. So I thought, forget university, I'm out of here. I'm going to make video games. So I went in to make Game Boy games.
Yeah, well, being that I'm still paying my university debt, I don't think you necessarily took a long turn there. Much as I loved uni, it definitely wasn't something I ever used for my career in any way, shape or form.
University isn't for everyone. But nowadays, university is great because they have all these game development courses. So if you want to make video games, stay in school, kids. It's what you want to do.
Ignore what I just said about my degree. Listen to the wise person here. I would say that. But it has changed a lot. Education has changed massively. A lot of the things I wanted to do, you just couldn't do at university. Yeah. There weren't courses for sort of the graphic design and the web coding and stuff that I was doing. You just learned by doing it yourself. So it has changed a lot. But you were coming up sort of the first time round when it was really bedroom coders learning out of magazines. And yeah, you got to make that break into making Game Boy games professionally. What sort of games did you get to work on?
So originally I got hired to do the conversion of a game called Revolt for the Game Boy, which was a little RC racing game, but unfortunately that got cancelled before it got finished. And then we went on to get the licenses for Mary King's Riding Star, which is a horse riding game, and Equestriad 2001, which is also a horse riding game. Those also didn't get finished, they got pulled. And then finally the game we did get released was Lego Stunt Rally for the Game Boy, where you made tracks and you raced around those tracks.
That sounds like a pretty cool game. And all of those sound like an amazingly sort of good experience to throw yourself head first into learning how to develop for what was one of your favourite games consoles.
Yeah, I have a huge love for the Game Boy. It was my first personal game console, and I just spent so much time with it. And I love the simplicity of it with the 8-bit CPU, the basic graphics, and it really champions good gameplay over anything else.
It does indeed. And again, it is something that is just absolutely timeless. So timeless, in fact, that you have gone back to developing for the Game Boy again now. Yeah,
so many years passed. I got out of making video games, but I got back into making video games. I was making a game called Mau Castle, a game about a flying cat dragon who chases rainbows for PC and mobile. That was going well, and then a pandemic happened, which kind of put a stop to that. And I fell out of love with video games for a little bit, but then I found my old Game Boy source code, and I remembered how much I loved making games for Game Boy. So I thought, let's go back to that. Let's try that again. So I took an old game I was working on, revamped it, and then re-released it as a physical cartridge. So this is Super Jetpak DX. This is a update of an old game that the game that got me the job in game games the first time around in 1999.
Oh, amazing. So you really have come full circle with your development.
Yeah, 21 years later on. And so it was nice to revisit this, and this is obviously a homebrew tribute to the wonderful game by Rare, Jetpak.
Can we open this up and take a look at it? Is that cool? Look at this, full colour box and everything.
So full disclosure, Bex knows this game pretty well.
I do know this game pretty well, yeah, but I have to still do the thing and go like, I've never seen this before for the sake of an unboxing. But yeah, I might have been minorly involved in this one. Look at that cartridge with a label.
Actual cartridge. Go on the Game Boy.
And also a manual that I'll pretend I've never seen before. It's a beautiful set, and I think it is really lovely to have these kind of games released on physical media as well. Obviously, it's great to have ROMs and be able to download them onto multicarts and be able to play them on emulators, but there's something kind of magic about having brand new games on the Game Boy in physical form.
All right, we'll put this on. You listen. This is Super Jetpak DX.
I like that. The cameraman's rocking out. It's a cracking tune. So what did it feel like to get the game that had started your game development career actually out into people's hands?
It was really nice. It was such a wonderful feeling to reignite my love for Game Boy and making games again, because like I said, the pandemic happened and it really took the wind out my sails. But being able to do this, there's so much passion in this, because this again is my favorite console. Something I made back in 1999. The community for retro gaming is wonderful. It's a passionate community that loves gaming, and it was great to make something with them. We hopefully would sell maybe 100 or so copies, and we managed to sell about 700 copies in the end, which meant it really showed there was a want and need for more games for old systems.
Yeah, and taking that on board, you are now developing a new Game Boy game as well.
We are indeed. So currently we're in the process of making a game called DFuzed. You're a little bomb disposal robot who has to defuse bombs. It's a turn-based action puzzler, in that Jetpak is a very fast arcade game, and we found that some people may have problems playing fast arcade games. So we thought, what can we do that is turn-based that everyone can play? We want to make it as accessible as possible. So we made a turn-based puzzle game where you defuse bombs. Every time you move, the bombs will count down, and you have to try and defuse them before they blow up and stuff.
And the robot's super cute as well.
It's super cute, yeah, little Def, super cute. So this is a secret demo build.
Secret builds. Don't tell anyone we showed you this.
It's on a blank cartridge.
I like that. There's not even a label on it.
Yeah,
it's that. Oh, that is a lovely logo intro. Look at that.
Yeah. So this will be out on pre-order at the moment over at Incubate Games.
It is absolutely beautiful, and it is wonderful to see games being produced for original hardware, and especially when they look as amazing as this one does, with the full intro and everything. These are the games that we wanted to play and make when we were kids. Yeah,
it's something. If I enjoy it, hopefully then other people will enjoy it too. So it's made with love and passion and all the good stuff.
So in order to make these games on Game Boy, you've actually set up your own company, sporting the branding. I like it professional.
You got to wear the brand. So Asobi.tech's been around since 2007. But it was just me and my brother in our spare time making video games while we had day jobs. And a lot of it was just relearning how to make games and enjoying ourselves. We did a lot of game jams. Game jams are so much fun. We make a game in a very short time, and that was good fun. And it came along to the pandemic where my day job put me on furlough and then made me redundant. So I had to decide what I was going to do in my life. And I thought, why not? Let's make video games for full time. Let's try this thing. So I decided to make Asobi.tech an official thing and put together a team and make it everything. So now we have hired an artist, hired a producer. I do all the programming, and we design together. And it's now a little official company.
Yeah, it really is kind of like living the childhood dream at this point, and still working on the console that you started with as well, which is really awesome to see. If someone else is thinking about getting into game development for classic consoles, what would be the one bit of advice you could give them?
Start small. The smaller the better. All the information is out there on the internet. You can program for the NES, for the Mega Drive, even newer systems now, the N64, the Sega Saturn. There are systems out there for you to help you make games for those systems. But start small, and then build upon that. Because if you try, everyone wants to make the next opus magnus art masterpiece, but you're not going to be able to do that until you know how to make games and how the systems work. So if you start small, that's the best way of doing it.
Yeah, and some of those smaller games are some of the most iconic ones we have. Games like Space Invaders and Tetris and Centipede, they have less pixels on their in their entire game than sort of like the little finger of Lara Croft. You don't need to start off making The Witcher 3 or something.
Yeah.
And
Tetris on the Game Boy, I think it really comes on a 32 kilobyte cartridge.
Yeah.
It's just a tiny amount, but it's a wonderful game, and it's something achievable that you can make if you're starting out. Yeah,
a strong idea, I think, is definitely much more important than making it big and impressive in a sort of modern day terms.
Yeah, the indie market now for homebrews on retro systems is growing constantly. It's lovely to see more and more companies making games for different systems. There's more publishers publishing games. Obviously, you can now play a lot of these games now on Antstream, which is wonderful.
We can indeed. Thank you for being the one to put that in there rather than me. That makes it much smoother as a segue. Yes, of course, Antstream has indie games, retro-styled indie games, as well as classic retro games. So there's more and more ways to play them and get your games out to people. So we would say, if you would like to circle back to your own dream of programming for the Game Boy or other 8 and 16-bit systems, then it can be done. Thank you so much for talking to us today. I will put some of your details in the description box below, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.